Now, Ted Nugent is a well-known right-winger. He's not a very well-known musician. He had some pervy songs a long time ago that Mike Huckabee liked to sing with him, former governor of Arkansas, about how they lust after the young daughter of a neighbor. And of course, if you go back further, Ted Nugent probably best known for crapping his pants to get out of the Vietnam War. He said it, I didn't. Later realizing how deeply embarrassing it is that he actually caked his pants for a week so they would think he was crazy to get out of Vietnam. He bragged about it initially, and he's like, I got out of the war. They realized, hey, you're a coward. You love to go around with your guns and talk about how you're gonna kill everybody, but it turns out you're the world's biggest coward. You had plenty of chance to kill people in Vietnam, and what'd you do? You crapped your pants. Okay, so now we know this about Ted Nugent. There's a new twist coming up, but I wanted to remind you of all of his previous insults too, because it's relevant to this story. He had called Obama, for example, a subhuman mongrel, and he had also said, Obama, he's a piece of crap. I told him to suck on my machine gun. Hey, Hillary, you might want to ride one of these into the sunset, again referring to his weapons, you worthless bitch. Okay, so that's Ted Nugent. But after one of the shootings, you might wonder which shooting actually bothered Ted Nugent. Seems to be fairly pro-shooting, at least as long as he's not on the receiving end. As he could have been in Vietnam, but chose not to, and chose not to represent our country. Have I mentioned that? Anyway, no, it was when the Republican legislator got shot, Steve Scalise, that he was concerned and called for civility. Now, I'm going to play that for you, and then we're going to see today if he lived up to that call. So this is what he had said about how he's going to tone it down. Watch.
Reevaluated my approach, even though I'm a street fighter. I'm from Detroit. Yeah. We use language in the street. We use certain harsh terms. But at the tender age of 69, my wife has convinced me that I just can't use those harsh terms. I cannot, and I will not, and I encourage even my friends / enemy on the left in the Democrat and liberal world that we have got to be civil to each other. I'm going to take a deep breath, and I am going to back it down, and if it gets fiery, if it gets hateful, I'm going away. I'm not going to engage in that kind of hateful rhetoric anymore.
Yeah, good one, good one. So he has implored people to be civil to each other, and he's not going to engage in hateful rhetoric. By the way, my favorite part was, I'm a street fighter from Detroit. You had a chance to be a fighter in the jungles. Apparently you weren't that kind of fighter. What kind of street fighter craps his pants at the idea of a fight? Anyway, now, let me show you a little bit about what Ted Nugent said about the victims of another shooting. That was, of course, the shooting in Parkland. So a lot of the young kids there have spoken out against gun violence, and Nugent apparently doesn't like that. Now, Nugent's about to say something worse too, but first, very recently, this is what he said about those kids.
The lies from the left, the lies from these poor, mushy-brained children who have been fed lies and parrot the lies, they are actually committing spiritual suicide because everything they recommend will cause more death and mayhem. The dumbing down of America is manifested in the cultural deprivation of our academia that have taught these kids the lies, media that have prodded and encouraged and provided these kids lies. I really feel sorry for them because it's not only ignorant and dangerously stupid, but it's soulless. These to attack the good law-abiding families of America when well-known, predictable murderers commit these horrors is deep into the category of soulless. These poor children, I'm afraid to say, and it hurts me to say this, but the evidence is irrefutable, they have no soul.
Wow. The kids that were the victims of the shooting in Parkland, Florida have no soul. And he apparently has irrefutable evidence of that. And Ted Nugent talking about the dumbing down of America and being dangerously stupid. The irony is thick with that. It's almost caked into this story. So that was him on the Joe Pags radio show. But we're not done yet. It's Ted Nugent. He's only going to make it worse. So the guy who called for civility then talked about killing Democrats, liberals, Republicans he doesn't agree with. Let's watch.
Just know that evil, dishonesty, and scam artists have always been around, and that right now they're liberal, they're Democrat, they're rhinos, they're Hollywood, they're fake news, they're media, they're academia, and they're half of our government, at least. So come to that realization. There are rabid coyotes running around. You don't wait till you see one to go get your gun. Keep your gun handy, and every time you see one, you shoot one.
You shoot one, you shoot a liberal. Every time you see one, Democrats say, man, the insecurity on him is hilarious and also dangerous. Remember about the Parkland shooting, they said, oh, the cops didn't do enough. The guy said all the time that he was gonna do a shooting. Here's Ted Nugent over and over again saying, well, you shoot him, you shoot him. There's a Republican you don't agree with, you shoot him. There's a Democrat, you shoot him. There's a liberal, you shoot him. Hey, Obama, suck on my gun. Hillary, I'm gonna shoot you. Over and over and over again. But in this country, we've lost our minds. So no, when people threaten violence like that, the government is not here to help you. They won't do a damn thing about it, because if you went to talk to Nugent about it, he'd crap his pants all over again. And he'd cry and cry, get triggered and go, oh my God, the government is coming for me. Just because I'd say that I'd murdered people, they're trying to take away my guns and my rights. I guarantee you Nugent would cry and cry and cry. That's all he ever does. I mean, that video was the perfect picture of two cowards hanging out together, talking about how tough they are. So now Ted Nugent is monstrous, we get it, right? But you know that he's on the board of the NRA? He's not just some weirdo has-been so-called celebrity. And take a look at this. This is the board of the NRA and there's Ted Nugent. That's crazy. I mean, look, first of all, you look at that list, it's a murderer's row of criminals. Oliver North should be in prison. Tom Selleck, we did a story about how he's taking water from his neighbors and not paying for it where he lives. Anyway, but Ted Nugent on the board of the NRA. So I guess the NRA now is in favor of murdering moderate Republicans, if they exist, Democrats and liberals. Okay, how come there are no rules for any of the right wing? If a person on the left was part of a giant progressive organization, they were on the board of it, and they called for the murder of Republicans, what do you think would happen? There's no way they would be on that board the next day. But the right wing has no rules, and no one ever enforces it. I guess we're used to them being monsters. Hey, press, can we at least be honest about it? It is not equal. The left wing and the right wing in this country are not equal. One side is monstrous and is proud of it, and no one ever does anything about it. By the way, this monster also hangs out with the president. So here he is in a picture at the White House, shaking hands with President Trump. Could you imagine if Obama had shook hands with an entertainer that talked about murdering Republicans? Fox News would have never stopped talking about it until every Democrat in the country had to apologize 20 times over. But at least we know what they stand for now. That's Ted Nugent, big friend of Donald Trump. If Trump doesn't renounce him, I guess he believes in similar ideas, which, by the way, would we be surprised? Just understand the right wing and the left wing are not the same. On that side are people that relish the violence and look forward to a day where they can actually do that to people on the other side. Of course, when it comes to them, they run and run and run like the cowards that they are. What you just watched was one of the videos that we do today, but we actually do a whole 2-hour show every single day. It's a podcast. You could watch it in video or listen to it as audio. You can download it, you can stream it, and you get it completely ad-free if you could become a member of the Young Turks. TYTnetwork.com/join.